Good morning, everyone. We're here today to brief you on the deputy-involved shooting last night. As you know, we met with you and gave you the basic details, and we can fill in some of the holes at this time. It all started about 6:30 last night, which would have been Monday evening. And here's what occurred. Deputy Wofford is assigned to traffic, and he clocked a motorcycle at about 112 miles an hour. He turned on his emergency lights and made a loop to get back behind the motorcycle. And he said that he noticed the motorcycle hit its brakes and then immediately turned down what was Golden Bow Road. He said, I turned off my emergency equipment, and then I was trying to catch up with him. He said at that point in time, he was not fleeing from me. He said, I turned my lights on to stop traffic to make the U-turn, and I saw that he hit his brake lights. As our deputy turned down Golden Bower, he then saw the vehicle take another turn. He followed the motorcycle through the curves, and about Glen St. Mary's Road, there's a sharp 90-degree curve, and he saw that the motorcycle had stopped. It pulled off on the side of the road. He flipped his lights on. The motorcycle was running but was laying on its side in the soft sand. As the deputy was getting out of his vehicle, all of a sudden the suspect starts to flank him and walk toward the rear of the car. The deputy pulls up kind of beside the motorcycle. He's getting out of the car, motorcycle's right here. He says the guy starts flanking him. And he says, let me see your hands. And at that time, he says, I saw the suspect pull his shirt up, and there's a holster and a gun. And he pulls the gun on me, and he fires a shot from behind my vehicle. I immediately draw my firearm as he's drawn his firearm, and we have an exchange of gunshots. The suspect then runs west into the grove, and that engagement is over with. But keep in mind they're in the area of the 90-degree curve, so the deputy says I move away from the patrol car further to the north so that I can see both angles of the car, and I take cover beside a garbage can. He says the suspect runs back out and tries to and gets into my patrol car. And he shoots at me again, and I shoot at him again. And we have another exchange of gunfire. The suspect can't get the vehicle to move because we have safety devices on the vehicle, and he was not able to get it into gear and to drive it off. So he jumps out of the patrol car, gets onto his motorcycle, and tries to take off. The motorcycle's in soft sand, and it's more than evident that the suspect's been shot. We think at this point in the investigation the suspect was first shot in the initial exchange of gunfire. But we can see a lot of blood at the scene where the shooting took place, and it's also pooled inside the deputy's patrol car where he jumped in the car and tried to flee. So he tries to take off on the motorcycle. We think the injuries from that first shooting would not allow him to get that motorcycle, which is a large motorcycle, up. The motorcycle went about 50 to 75, 100 yards maybe, and went down again. At that time, our deputy left cover, ran to the back of his patrol car, and opened his car and got his rifle out. And the reason for that, the deputy's about out of ammunition. He has shot 42 times with his handgun during this fight. So as he's getting his rifle out, the man setting up, the suspect setting up by his motorcycle, he shoots again at him. At this time, our backup deputy arrives. He jumps out with his bulletproof shield, and they approach the suspect. They see a vehicle some distance down the road, and they start flanking the suspect so that if there's another engagement, that they're not shooting down the roadway for that or any other vehicle in the way. As they flank the suspect and they're giving him direction, show me your hand, show me your hand, he raises his right hand occasionally and puts it back down. So they're screaming at him as they flank him and walk up to him. And he's tracking them as they walk around behind him, and then he picks the gun up again. And when he picks the gun up again, both deputies shoot at him, and he's deceased at the scene. Now, the interesting part that we've not figured out yet is after he lays the motorcycle back down, the keys are not in the ignition, but they're in the gas tank. And the gas tank is open, and he's got a lighter on the ground. And the deputy said that the motorcycle was on fire. So after they engaged him and shot him, then they ran back and got the fire extinguisher and extinguished the fire. The entire thing was bizarre. But here's our outlaw, Quentin Case. He's an outlaw. He has an arrest record back to 2000. He's been arrested 18 different times. Some violent offenses. He is a violent offender. On one occasion, he was arrested for sexual battery, armed sexual battery, and it reduced down from a sexual battery to a plea. He was also charged with possession of meth. He's been charged with possession of a weapon. He's also been charged with possession of ammo by a convicted felon. We know that his family said that he started carrying a gun, that his family told us that he had told them, "I am not going to prison." And he's right, he didn't. He went to the medical examiner's office. The autopsy's underway at this time, but we can tell you this, we shot him a lot. He's shot at least 13 times that we've counted so far, but the autopsy's still underway. We know that the suspect shot at us between 4 and 7 times during the exchange of the running gun battle as it was. We still don't understand why. We had him for traffic charges and 2 VOP warrants for meth, and where he had pled down to an aggravated assault with a weapon. But we know he's dangerous and he was violent, and he proved that last night. Here's a picture of the patrol car as it was last night. Now, what you don't see are the suspect's bullet holes in the rear of this vehicle, where he actually, while he was shooting at the deputy, hit the rear of the patrol car. But this is where the first exchange of gunfire took place, and where the second exchange of gunfire took place. This is the gun that our suspect was carrying. It's defined as a Smith & Wesson .380 Bodyguard. And this is a picture of our suspect on another motorcycle, not the motorcycle that he had this particular night. It's pretty straightforward. It starts off as a simple traffic stop. And he starts flanking our deputy and pulls a gun first. When he goes for his gun, we pull our gun, and there is a running gunfight. And this running gunfight is very dangerous. We engage him, we shoot him. He's still, after he's shot up, sitting on the ground, pulls that gun up one last time, and that's the very last thing he did. Any questions? We haven't found any additional magazines at this time. I think if he had of, he certainly would have used those as well.
Can you straighten out some numbers? I got confused. You said something about 43, and I was under the impression deputies shot at him.
No, no, we shot more than that. Deputy Wolford shot 42 times from his handgun, 8 times from his rifle. Deputy Coquette shot 2 times from his handgun. The suspect shot between 4 and 7 times at us during the engagement. And the suspects hit at least 13 times. Once more, let me give you the reminder. We don't choose to shoot people. They choose for us to shoot them. And if you choose for us to shoot at you, we're going to shoot at you a lot. That's a guarantee. Don't point your gun at us. Don't shoot at us. We'll always be peaceable people because that's the way we want to take you to jail. But you start producing guns and you will get shot. That's a guarantee.
How did his family take this? Were they, I mean, obviously they're upset, but were they thinking, I mean, were they surprised?
The family obviously is upset, and quite frankly, we're upset for the family. The family didn't choose for him to be shot. We didn't choose for him to be shot. He chose for us to shoot him. So our hearts go out to his family. They certainly didn't want him to be shot. However, if they had any influence over him and could have convinced him just to turn himself in on those felony warrants, this eventuality never would have occurred. When he was stopped by our deputy, interestingly enough, if he'd have just given up, this eventuality would have never occurred. But what I'm suspicious about, and I highlight I'm suspicious, we don't have empirical evidence. That motorcycle, I'm told, will run 180 miles an hour. There was no reason for him to lead us out down a long, abandoned road and then stop and wait on us, unless he wanted to kill us. And that's what he tried to do. And it cost him his life. He had the jump on us. We could have never gotten close enough to see tail lights on that motorcycle. But he actually led us down, and if any of you were there last night, or you'll see, it's a long road way out in the middle of no place. And he stopped and waited on us and pulled a gun on us and tried to kill us. And that was the last bad decision he ever made.
Sheriff, did all this occur in the dark?
No, it was before dark.
Before dark? It's still an intense situation, obviously.
It was intense. It was incredibly intense. I mean, normally shootouts last seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 3 seconds. This thing went on for a while.
Is this the first time where you think the guy tried to ambush, like lead you into a firefight?
In my mind, there's no doubt he led us into this firefight. Because once again, the motorcycle he was driving, I'm told, runs someplace around 180 miles an hour. This guy would have blinded us. And quite frankly, he was running 112 when we clocked him. Had he just kept running 112, we wouldn't have engaged him. We would not even risk our lives to chase him. That would have been on him running that fast by himself. He made that turn. He knew the area. And he allowed us to make the turn on him and catch up with him. And was sitting around that curve, just around that curve, that 90-degree curve. When we pulled up, flipped the lights on, and stepped out, we were right beside the motorcycle. There's no way anything else happen, but he wanted to engage us. And he got what he asked for.
Do you think he did that to go after your deputies or for them to end up killing him?
He started flanking us and went for his gun, obviously before we did, when we were just giving him instructions. He intended to have a gunfight, and we gave him a gunfight, one he'll never forget.
Do you know what kind of motorcycle he was riding?
A fast one. Someone tell me, they told,
Yamaha. Is it the one? Is it the one on the picture?
which one? No, Yamaha,
R1,
Yamaha R1.
1,000 cc 4x.
He could do 200,000.
Do you know
Yeah.
how many convictions the suspect has had?
No, not right offhand. But he's been arrested back till 2000, and it all started as traffic, no driver's license, driving on suspended license, and it got progressively worse as time went on. But this was a protracted gunfight, something you rarely see, thank goodness. It was a very frightening situation, but Deputy Wolford and Deputy Coquette were absolutely fantastic in their response, and they're alive today because they used their training and their equipment to protect themselves.
Okay, you were not injured at all, nothing.
Not at all. Scared to death? Yes. When people start shooting guns at you, it scares you. But they responded immediately. I'm interested to see if he had any narcotics in his system, because he kept on even after he was apparently shot in the first engagement of the gunfight. He ran in the grove, he came back, he got in the car. There's a lot of blood in the car. So he was bleeding heavily from wounds when he engaged us again, and then when he drove off on his motorcycle. But at the end of the day, he chose to shoot it out with us, and we gave him what he asked for. Okay, thank you very much.